nung mayor pa ako si President Duterte.
So sana maibigay sa amin ang listahan ng mga kasong hinain nito sa Pilipinas na hindi naman na umusad, na talagang walang pag-asang magtagumpay. Isa yon. Ikalawa, nakailang beses na sinasabi ng ating Pangulo paulit-ulit na umaandar ang mga korte dito, mahuhusay ang ating mga huwes at abogado. Bakit biglang inaamin natin na pumalpak ang ating korte?
Ayun nga, nagkaroon po tayo ng panahon na talagang wala akong nangyari sa mga kaso na EJK eh. Talagang wala akong nangyari.
Pero may kaso ba?
Nga ho eh, wala nga, hindi police report nga, wala eh. Ganun ho kahirap imbestigahan ang mga kasong yan. Magsisimula kasi tayo, pag tayo po yung nabigyan ng ulat na may nagdedemanda, ang una po natin hahanapin police report. Kasi at least sila po ang naglalagay ng recording ng lahat ng pangyayari sa kanilang mga komunidad. Eh kung police report po wala, saan kayo magsisimula ngayon? Tapos sa mga police na ilipat na sa iba't ibang lugar, wala na makausap.
Si General Marbil nandito, si General Torre nandito, siguradong pagtitibayin nila na araw-araw may murder sa blatter ng pulis. Pangkaraniwan na krimen
Hindi po sa drug war. Hindi po sa drug war.
Yan.
Sa drug war po, wala pong blatter ang pulis. Marami nga walang blatter eh. Ang problema nga ho dito, napakarami hong namatay na ang death certificate nga nakalagay po cardiac arrest pero may butas po sa ulo mula sa bala.
So tama yung yun ang sinasabi ninyo, failure of our justice system.
Opo, nung panahon na yun.
So
nagkaroon tayo ng problema nung panahon na yun na hindi ho talaga maimbestigahan na maayos kasi pati ho ang piskal tinatakot po ng pulis nung panahon na yun eh.
Nung panahon na yun, ngayong panahon ngayon, hindi ba pwedeng magaya?
Hindi ngayon ho, mas maayos ngayon
sapagkat
sinisigurado po namin na ang piskal at ang pulis ay magkasama mag-imbestiga ng mga krimen. Hindi na ho katulad ng dati. Kung ano sabihin ng pulis, dapat masunod.
Kung mas maayos ngayon, ba't hindi na lang magpila ng kaso dito sa Pilipinas? Maayos na pala eh, nag-iba na.
Hindi ko ho pwedeng tanongin yun sa mga nagdemanda sa ICC. Hindi naman po namin hawak yung mga taong yun eh. Hindi ho namin sila kilala.
Ma'am, as a matter of suggestion, if I may, ma'am, as stated by the Secretary of Justice, na yung mga biktima ng EJK, ang mga police report nila ay cardiac arrest pero may buta sa ulo. That numbers in the thousands, ma'am. Why does the Senate try to investigate that and investigate the circumstances surrounding that? Maybe, ma'am, you can come up with a more cohesive report regarding this matter. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, ma'am, on what to do. It's merely a suggestion.
No, I already asked the SOJ earlier kung may listahan.
But there is no investigation, ma'am, into the deaths by cardiac arrest but with a hole in the head.
Kaya nga
Did the
sinasabi
Senate
ko kung may
investigate that, ma'am?
listahan.
Did the Senate investigate it, ma'am? Did the Senate investigate it? Has the Senate tried to investigate deaths by cardiac arrest but with bullet holes in the head?
Parang nalilito ako kasi yung Kian de los Santos, may 3 pulis na na-convict ng murder. So hindi natin masasabi na talagang palpak.
Homicide po. Homicide ang binigay na conviction. Hindi po murder.
Okay.
That is
Ano
one
man?
of several thousand, ma'am.
Nevertheless, hindi masasabi na zero. Kahit pa paano.
Actually, meron na ho
may nakatulan.
kung hindi ako nagkakamali, 16 na kaso na ang nahalukay ni Dr. Raquel Fortun ng mga taong ang death certificate po ay nagsasabi na walang naging problema pero ang autopsy nakikita pong may butas po sa ulo.
Pero sabi nga ninyo, noon hindi pwede. Dahil natatakot, nag-iilang, hindi kakayanin. Pero ngayon, bakit hindi magpila ng kaso sa Pilipinas?
Ano ho yan?
Nakita natin, sabi mo, may katibayan tayo sa 15. Ayan, kay Doktora Fortun. Andyan, meron nakikita,
marami ho kasing komplikasyon ang pag-iimbestiga ng ganitong kaso.
Di ba lalong komplikado kung nakakalad ka rin pa hanggang lahig? Mas madali na dito.
Isang katulad po niyan, yung ballistics. Pag may nangyari pong pagyayari na may binarel o may pinatay, ang dapat po dyan, yung scene of the crime preserved, yung ballistics kinukuha. Wala man ballistic report, wala man police report. Kaya pinabayaan po eh. Ito yung talagang nangyari sa atin na napakatagal na panahon na wala na nga akong gumagawa ng real evidence, lahat po testimonial evidence na lang. Kaya nagkakaproblema po talaga ang justice system. Yung po yung kinokorekt namin ngayon, ma'am.
Paano nyo i-correct yan kung cold file yan? Eh di cold file lalo pagdating sa Amsterdam. Kasi pahaba ng pahaba yung panahon. Eh kung walang katibayan, walang physical evidence, eh kahit dalhin mo, kaladkarin mo yan sa ICC.
Ngayon, yung sistema ho ngayon, basta
mas lalong
meron hong
wala.
demanda, kinakailangan pong magsama ang pulis at piskal para naman maging maayos ang kaso. Kasi hindi naman pwede iutos ng pulis sa piskal o iutos ng piskal sa pulis na gawin ng kanya-kanyang trabaho. Dapat po magsama sila. Yun po ang gist ng aming training program ngayon between the police enforcers and the fiscals.
Tapos itatransmit pa yan sa ICC, di ba? Di mas mahaba yung proseso, mas natagalan pa tayo, mas kawawa yung mga pinatay o allegedly na murder, eh mas hahaba pa yung proseso eh. Kung dito, eh di harap-harapan na lang na matapos na. Hindi po ba?
Sana po magawa natin to hanggang sa mga susunod na taon.
Kasi sabi ninyo,
ito ho yung talaga
nagbago na eh.
sinisikap namin na talagang baguhin ang sistema. Hindi ho madali. Pero hindi kami nawawalan ng pag-asa na marami na hong pagbabago nangyayari sa sistema natin.
Yes, pwedeng mag-suspend lang ng 5 minutes or 2 minutes. Everyone can go and have a little boys' room break.
Ang bubuo talaga ng mga Pilipino mag-interpret. Hindi na sabi ito. Ito na ICC na nasabi innocent si Tatay Dicon. Ang sinabi is presumed innocent. Ibig sabihin, hindi pa siya inaano na guilty. Tinatrato pa ng innocent. Hoy, sino yan?
Ako po, may inaalis ang pa ako sa galit.
Tumanda bigla si Robin Padilla. Nagsaya na ito. Stressful talaga sa gobyerno. Kamukha pala ni Robin ang mga anak niya. Si Queenie, kamukha niya. Ngayon ko nakita na yung resemblance nila ni Queenie. Akala ko ang kamukha ng mga anak niya si Lizelle. Kamukha pala niya.
Yung katanungan kung bakit hindi pumila ng kaso dito sa Pilipinas imbes na ICC pagkat ayaw nating tanggapin yung pag-aamin na hindi na talaga umaandar ang korte rito, wala nang bisa ang mga huwes at wala nang pakinabang ang mga abogado. Hindi naman yata katanggap-tanggap yun. Pero kung maaari, yung SOJ, bigyan kami ng listahan ng mga kaso. Ang huli na lang po, yung Article 59 of the Rome Statute, lahat ng tao naging expert na tungkol dyan. Yun nga, anong masasabi natin tungkol sa applicability? Kung talagang yung Rome Statute does not apply kasi hindi na nga tayo party there too, sabi ng DFA. And may Pangilinan versus Cayetano case pa. So, ano ang pakinabang nito? At is it legally binding? Nag-a-apply pa ba ang Article 59, lalo na yung first paragraph, na ginagamit ang pangalan state parties. Samantalang sa second paragraph, which provides for the right to be brought before local courts, ang sinasabi hindi state parties kundi custodial state. So ibig sabihin, very liberal ang construction in favor of the accused. Pwede sa sarili niyang bansa o kung saan man siya dinala. Di ba tama po yun? Applicable ba to sa kaso ni Presidente Duterte?
Hindi na ho natin kinikilala ang ICC eh. Hindi na ho tayo kasama sa ICC. Kaya hindi tayo saklaw ng kanyang mga probisyon. Ang amin pong ginamit na batas dito ay Republic Act 9851. Yung po yung international
paulit-ulit
humanitarian
naman
law.
tayo dyan sa RA 9851 sa Section 17. Kaya lang, ang gobyerno, paulit-ulit na sinasabi na meron tayong obligasyon na tumulong kahit hindi na tayo miyembro. Kaya nalilito ako. Member tayo, tumutulong tayo, pero hindi applicable yung Article 59. Ano ba talaga? Are we or aren't we?
Yun nga ho ang yung pagkakaiba ng pagpaningin natin. Kasi ang tingin ko po, ang mahalaga sa atin ngayon yung domestic law natin. Ngayon, dahil ang ICC ay humingi ng tulong sa Interpol, nangyari po ang lahat.
Ang liwanag po ng Interpol, sinabi ng Interpol, hindi wanted si Presidente Duterte ng Interpol, wanted ng ICC. Sila lang ang ginamit na kasangkapan.
Ganun nga ho yun, ganun pa rin. Pero,
hindi ganun yun. Pagkaiba. Kasi kung minsan, maraming wanted talaga sa Interpol.
Opo.
Ang pinakamatindi dito sa Pilipinas, yung child pornography, very active po ako dyan, kaya kabisado ko. Kaya nagtataka po ako, hindi naman siya wanted sa Interpol. Interpol tayo ng Interpol, tapos hindi tayo bahagi ng ICC. Ba't nagkaganto?
hindi naman ho kami nag-withdraw sa ICC ang Pangulong Duterte po. Kaya hindi na tayo kabahagi ng ICC.
Wala namang kinalaman doon. Hindi ini-invoke kasi ninyo yung ICC at yung Interpol. Samantala nga, hindi na nga tayo.
Actually, ang talaga hong ini-invoke namin, Republic Act 9851.
Okay? At ang liwaliwanag naman, miski sa 9851, sa last sentence, must be pursuant to applicable extradition laws. Hindi ba? Ang liwanag
Opo,
doon sa
last,
copy,
ho yan, last sentence po yan,
Oo.
pero mahaba pa yung paragraph bago dumating yan.
Hong Kong Special Admin, di ba, sa Hong Kong SAR versus Olalia, ang liwaliwanag niyan, di ba, kinilala talaga ang right for bail nung arestado at accused. Pareho naman to ng Article 59, kasi yung arrested person has a right to apply for interim release. Di pareho rin yun. In effect, dun sa ating mga korte, nag-ruling sila na halos eksakto ang epekto sa Article 59.
Yan po, bahala na po ang ICC dyan. Hindi na ho namin makokontrol.
Ako, ICC na naman.
Andun po kasi ang Pangulo eh. Ang dating Pangulo ay nasa ICC po. Kaya kung meron ho ng gusto ng provisional liberty, doon ho sila mag-a-apply. Wala na ho kami magagawa doon. In fact, ito hong pinag-uusapan natin, subjudice na naman po ito. Yan naman problema rito.
So yung binabanggit na liberty of abode ni Attorney Medina kanina sa ating konstitusyon, wala nang aplikasyon.
Yan po, pero sa akin ang tingin ko puro sa liberty of abode na yon, parang that's the rule of search warrants eh. Yun po yung aking nakikitang konteksto nun.
Palagay ko hindi naman limitado doon, ano? Anyway, siguro para lang makapag-aral kami ng gusto sa susunod, baka naman makapagbigay kayo ng 2 o 3 pang mga Pilipino na inaresto ng ating pamahalaan na walang warrant of arrest, tapos dinala sa ibang bansa na wala namang court order na galing dito.
Marami ho yan. Ito po yung mga foreigners, karamihan po. Hindi pa nga Pilipino.
Then, tinatanong ko po yung Filipino citizen. Kasi syempre yung foreigners...
Ito po, this is a case of first impression. Hindi pa ho nangyayari ito. But I have to posit that it is a case of first impression. Hindi pa ho nangyayari ito sa kasaysayan natin.
Kaya nalilito po kami kasi yung DOJ dati talagang pinagpipilitan na nag-comply sa Article 59. Ngayon, sinasabi na hindi na kailangan na dalhin sa local authorities at parang yung DOJ may sinasabi na halos judge na kayo. Paano naman nangyari nagkaroon ng judicial powers?
Yun po yung binigay sa atin na options ng batas, 9851, Section 17 po.
Palagay ko hindi tama yun kasi Attorney Medina, talaga bang DOJ was vested by the Constitution with judicial power? Kailan naman po nangyari yun? Sang bahagi ng ating saligang batas naging huwes ang ating DOJ?
Wala kaming claim to judicial power. Dito po, executive action po ang aming ginawa. In accordance with Section 17,
Pero hindi nga po
Article
alien
9851.
Hindi nga pwedeng isurrender kasi hindi nga alien. Pilipino man siya.
Hindi ho, malinaw. Gusto basahin ko ulit for the record. Para malinaw
Alam na
po sa
natin
ating
yun.
lahat.
Oo.
Kasi,
Baka naman si attorney
baka minsan baka nalilimutan natin yung mga nasa saklaw ng batas eh. Papasahin ko po muli.
Hindi. Alam ko na yun. Oo. Yes, please, Attorney Medina, may idadagdag kayo. Hindi ba yung Constitution, wala naman judicial power? Kaya pinagpipilitan natin na bumalik sa korte.
I'll be consistent with my previous opinion, Your Honor. The right to liberty can only be, the deprivation of the right to liberty can only be judged by a court of law. Now, even assuming that executive officials would have the power to make a final adjudication on the right to liberty of an individual, at the very least, that individual whose right to liberty is at risk should still be accorded administrative due process at the very least, which means still notice, opportunity to be heard, and a decision by an impartial tribunal. So the fusion, what the Constitution wants to prevent is the fusion of executive and judicial power in the hands of one person. One American constitutional expert declared that as a form of tyranny. So I'm not casting aspersion on the actions of the executive officials involved. I'm sure they consider the legality, and I'm sure they're willing to present clear legal basis for their actions. It's a matter for the courts to settle po. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat, Attorney. Ang tinutukoy ko, SOJ Remulla, etong sinabi ni ASEC Nico Clavano, March 13, sinabi niya the Justice Department and the prosecutors can be considered competent judicial authority. Hindi po kayo nagsabi nito, kundi prosecutors were present during the service of the warrant and somehow they magically turned into the judiciary.
Then, if that is your opinion, ma'am.
It's not my opinion. I'm just quoting the statement derived from your spokesman, sir.
I'm sure that that was meant in a figurative manner, ma'am. It's not meant literally.
Ipapatuloy ko, kapag sinabi natin na kailangan padalhin sa korte dahil siya ay mag-a-attest, yung judge naman po, wala naman doon. Hindi naman niya na-witness yung pag-serve ng warrant hanggang sa pagbasa ng Miranda rights. So sabi niya, yung complementarity, hindi naman na importante until such time as the state is unwilling or unable to prosecute the same crime. So parang naging judge na rin yung SOJ. Papayag ba kayo ng ganon? Yun lang ang tanong.
Hindi po yun ang aming gustong sabihin dito. Yun po'y mga salitang ginamit lamang dahil sa sitwasyon ng pinag-uusapan. Ngunit wala akong intensyon na sabihin kami po ay hukuman. Hindi po kami hukuman.
Maraming salamat sa paliwanag dahil lihis ito sa sinabi ninyo ng budget hearing noong nakaraan na taon na hindi judicial authority ang SOJ. Hindi katulad ng sinabi ng spokesman ninyo, kundi kinakailangan bumalik at bumalik pa rin sa korte na Pilipino dito sa ating bansa. Maraming salamat. Wala na po akong tanong at napakahaba na po ng hearing. Nagpapaumanhin ako sa inyong lahat. This hearing of the Committee on Foreign Relations is hereby suspended. Maraming salamat sa lahat ng cabinet member na nagbigay ng panahon para sa atin. Maraming salamat po.
Wow! Ano sineselebrate natin ngayon?
Ang ganda ng weather eh, di ba, Ma?
Yes, and it's only 3 days to the weekend.
At tapos ka na din homework ko. Well, tatapos na. Good job sa paghugas ng pinggan, Tay.
There's always a reason to enjoy the slow-melting, long-lasting taste of Cadbury.
Ano has evinced his desire to
Well,
interpolate?
full disclosure then, I'm trying to be non-partisan. I ran as an independent last election, no political party. But I did vote for the president in 2016. No? So I saw the SOJ raising his hand. Would you like to give your comment now? Or I'm actually going to ask him questions on this. Then I'll ask the chair to give you time to rebut.
I
or
would like to hear your questions
Okay,
and answers.
thank you for that. So sir, tayo ba nag-meet na rin ba tayo?
I don't think so, sir.
I don't think so. So yeah. So I don't mean to be rude, and I thank you for your volunteering your opinion kasi nga basically there's so much confusion. So we're trying to get through the confusion not only for today but also for tomorrow to make sure that we respect our constitution and everyone's right is protected. So my first question, do we in this room do we all agree that if there's conflict between international law and our constitution will prevail?
Yes, Your Honor, that's the doctrine of constitutional supremacy.
You agree, SOJ? No? Yeah. If there's conflict, di ba? Kasi sinabi naman sa Constitution that international law forms part of the land of the law. So if there's no conflict, wala tayong problema. Okay. So having said that, one of the fundamental or yung anchors or foundations of the Philippine Constitution, also from the U.S. Constitution, is Section 1 of the Bill of Rights that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall any person be denied equal protection of law. Agree, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So, when we arrest someone, we're depriving him of liberty.
Yes, Your Honor.
When we deport someone by virtue of a warrant arrest, let's say like in the case of Congressman Mark Jimenez extradition with the U.S., we're depriving him of liberty.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So when we I don't know, alleged lawful arrest. Let me just use it that way while we're determining of former President Duterte and then putting him to a plane to Hague. We deprived him of liberty.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So the next question, was he given due process? So ang sinasabi po ng government, there are two ways, extradition or surrender.
Yes.
Okay. And tama po ba, this law that we're invoking now was passed before we ratified yung ICC?
Yes.
This law was prior to the ICC, no? Judicial Notice. Republic Act
9851.
9851. No? I mentioned that because in the interpellation, of, I think it was Senator Gordon and Senator Loren, and then meron din Senator Miriam, it was made clear doon na kailangan magpasan pa ng ibang legislation for the pag mag-a-arrest. Ayan, no, Senator Legarda, so even if the executive ratifies it and we concur in its ratification and we pass this proposed measure that we are contemplating now, is it not enough to implement the Rome Statute? Mali lang yung records, wrong statute nakalagay. Pero mukhang tama din na wrong talaga eh. Pero Rome Statute dapat to. Okay. Senator Gordon, yes, it is just like the VFA all over again. It is not enough, Mr. President, because there will be a mechanism upon which we would have to surrender certain nationals who have committed war crimes or violations against covered by the statute that we have not to be met, no? So meaning, if you take judicial notice of this, while we were passing this law later on, the intent of the legislature was to pass a mechanism for surrender. You can dispute that later on, sir, and look into it. I don't think we'll finish everything naman today, di ba? Some of this we really have to also consult everyone, no? But having said that, I think the point of the senators there was, klaro kasi extradition. So sa extradition, mako-comply mo yung due process sa Section 1 because you will, tama ba ako, you will be brought before a judge.
Yes po.
They will show you the extradition notice and the other papers like the warrant of arrest, and the person being arrested can answer before the judge. Tama
Yes
po ba?
po.
Okay. So let me go to Section 2. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures of whatever nature and for whatever purpose shall be inviolable. No? So, i-google na lang natin inviolable, but tama ba? Basically, you cannot violate this.
Opo.
Okay. And no search warrant or warrant of arrest shall issue except upon probable cause to be determined personally by the judge and after examination under oath or affirmation of the complainant and the witness he may produce, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the person or things to be seized. Okay. Mas bata ka ba sa akin? 1970 ako pinanganak.
Matanda na po ako.
So,
Yeah.
halos magka-age tayo.
Hindi po, mas matanda po ako.
Mas matanda ka ng konti. Sorry, mas mukha kang bata sa akin. But, no, the point is, because medyo middle kaming pinanganak nun, I think mas ka-age ko si Gilbert, no? So, ang alam ko lang, by the time kasi I got to law school, 87, 97 ako graduate, 10 years na tong constitution na to eh. This was all a reaction to martial law, where they had different kinds of warrant of arrest, including yung ASO and whatever, which were all legal during that time. I'm not judging that time. I'm just saying, both under martial law, the former constitution, jurisprudence, going from the Spanish to the Japanese period to the American period to our independence. So in the wisdom of the Filipino people, pinasa to na except, ang alam ko lang exception, there may be one or two, but alam ko exception yung sinabi mong deportation because when they come in, hindi na kailangan pumunta sa judge, immigration officials can deport or arrest them, di ba? Pero otherwise, hindi pwedeng si SOJ, DILG, hindi pwedeng si Secretary, no matter how brilliant Secretary Gibo is, when he's in the military can only arrest their personnel, no, under certain codes, di ba? But he cannot issue a warrant of arrest, di ba? So the safeguard of each and every Filipino sa due process is you're brought before a judge, and due process is one, yung nakalagay dito that you're informed about the nature of the words is in yan. Sa Section 12, any person under investigation for the commission of offense shall have the right to be informed of his right to remain silent and have competent and independent counsel preferably of his choice. Yan po, General Torre, yung Miranda rights na binasa mo kay former President Duterte. Tama po, no? I didn't see the whole video eh. I just heard SILG said that there's a whole video, but I only saw sa internet, pero nakita ko binasahan. Okay. Pero nakalagay dito, okay. If he cannot afford, he can be given a counsel. So may question ako later on dyan. Okay, but on section 14, eto. In all criminal prosecution, the accused shall be presumed innocent until contrary is proved and shall enjoy the right to be heard by himself and counsel. Ito importante. To be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation against him and then to have a speedy trial, no? So meaning, the more you have to explain yung cause at yung nature kung foreign because you're not familiar with their laws compared sa laws natin. So for example, in the case of Mark Jimenez, he questioned the extradition request before a Philippine judge. I googled it, nakalagay pa nga doon. Nagrereklamo siya, mas atat pa daw yung Pilipino na extradite siya kaso sa Amerikano. I don't even know it's true, no? But my question is, sir, so is it your proposition that if we surrender without an arrest from a Philippine judge, we're denying him due process? That's my words based on Section 1, but feel free to use your words.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, I agree. Basically, the principle involved here is due process. I think a lot of commentators have already pointed out the requirement of adherence to the principle of due process. So, whatever it is that the government is action is taking that would deprive a person of life, liberty, or process or property, it has to go through a certain process. It's called procedural due process. If it's a crime, it's a criminal due process. It's a procedural due process requires opportunity to be heard, reasonable opportunity to be heard by and in an impartial or before an impartial tribunal.
And in criminal law, both procedural and substantial due process are essential. Not only
Yes,
important,
yes.
but are essential,
Yes,
diba?
yes,
Because
yeah.
in let's say, other cases, kung magkamali ng konti sa procedure, it's repairable. Pero sa criminal law, na-accuse ka na mali, kambal mo pala yon or nung pinasa yung batas na yon, hindi pa pala crime, and then you weren't informed, fatal yon. So much so, that meron ngang doctrine of the poisonous tree, di ba? That if yung evidence that were taken from you were illegally obtained, ni hindi pwedeng gamitin against you. Is my recollection of the law. You're a professor, so you continually review this. I don't continually review you do this, no, but I should, of course.
I agree, Senator.
Okay.
The rule is the exclusionary rule for violation of the right against
Yeah.
unreasonable searches.
I was just
procedures.
emphasizing how important the procedural due process is because my next question, sinabi mo nga reasonable time. Diba? So,
reasonable opportunity.
reasonable opportunity, which includes reasonable time, right?
Opo.
Because even if you can run to court, if you give the court 3 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, it's not for us because wala namang Supreme Court regulation or batas na nagsasabing the writ of habeas corpus has to be issued in 12 hours or 1 day or etc. Diba? So you give reasonable time. So can I just interject one question kay General Torre? So sir, when you read the Miranda rights, did you explain the nature and cause of the of the crime that he's being accused of?
Yes, sir. It is on record and caught on video, sir.
Yeah, sorry about the, I don't know lang kasi about the record, so I'm not doubting you.
Yes, sir.
Ang napanood ko lang kasi yung standard Miranda rights that
Yes, sir.
you have. So, how did you read to him yung nature and cause? It's sa warrant or you...
Yes, sir. I read it
narrate-
from the warrant, sir. It
From
was
the warrant.
extracted from the warrant by the DOJ.
So you read to him the warrant. Around
Yes, sir.
what time po yun? More or less.
Mga around before lunchtime, sir.
So nung hinuli mo pa lang, binasa nyo na sa kanya yung warrant?
When
Kasi
we-
yung nakita namin video, sir, sa airport, the wife of former ES Miguel Dia was asking nga, di ba? And Ma'am Handilet was also asking. At sinabi nyo, I don't know what you answered, but basically hindi nyo pa pinakita yung warrant nun, di ba?
Nung yung mga video na yun, sir, gabi na yun, sir. Tapos na ang lahat na yun, sir. Paulit-ulit na lang, inuulit-ulit
No,
na lang.
what I was saying is that ang nakita kong video, yung palabas pa lang sila, and you were informing him naman na meron warrant, di ba?
palabas sa tube, sir.
Sa tube. Oo.
Nung palabas sa tube, sir, when the party of the former president is going up the tube, doon, sir, sa mismong junction ng tube at sa yung moving junction, sir, ng tube, he was already met by PG, who attempted to read him his rights.
Okay.
And they said, wag na, pababain natin ang tension, doon na lang sa 250th.
Okay, so they attempted
wing,
to
sir.
read him his right. And dala nila yung warrant nun, hindi pa?
Yes, sir. Dala na, sir.
Dala na nila?
They will not.
So yung
go out
issue
of the
na
plane.
walang dala, that's not true kasi dala nila?
Hindi sila lalabas sa plane, sir. Yun ang kondisyon nila. Hindi kami lalabas sa plane pag wala yung warrant.
Warrant.
And
So
it was
nandun
shown
yung
to them.
warrant. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So did you or any of the people who were serving the warrant explain to him the elements of the crime?
Yes, sir. The whole
So
warrant
what
was
are
already given to them.
So just because it's simple naman, what are the elements of the crime against humanity na may murder? If you explain to him, then you can explain to me, di ba? So what's the elements?
During the time, sir, it was not me who attempted reading of the rights. It was the prosecutor general.
Yes, sir. But sabi mo, you know the elements of the crime.
I read to him in toto what was written
Yes.
on the warrant, sir.
I read the warrant. Wala dun yung elements of the crime.
We did not say that I know the elements, sir. I just
Yes.
read to him exactly
So-
the charges in accordance with what is written in the
Yes, sir.
warrant.
I'm not arguing on the opinion and the legal kasi ito factual pa lang. But my point is, when you arrest a Filipino citizen for theft, for inciting to sedition, etc., meron po tayong legal maxim that ignorance of the law is not an excuse thereof. So, we are, as Filipino citizens, dapat alam natin yung law, di ba? So, pag inarrest mo yung isang tao, ano yan, bagransya? Sandali lang, sir. Na-repeal na yung bagransya, hindi na bata, ano yan. But I'm arresting you for what? For theft. You don't need to read the elements because alam na ng Pilipino yung nature and yung cause nung theft. But since this is a foreign court, and it's not even in the Rome Statute, yung elements. It was passed later on. So ang point ko, was the accused, in this case former president, aware of what he was being accused of? So I'll stop there, sir. Factual lang naman, and I take your answer that it was the warrant was there, it was read to him, and there are different. I won't go to them now. I'm just making the point that even if you serve the warrant, kung hindi niya alam at hindi alam ng lawyer niya, how do you expect him to run to court for to get legal remedy? So, going back, Attorney Alexis, sir, so is the ability to seek legal remedy part of due process? Meaning, if you deny me, if you're accusing me of something, my warrant of arrest, and you don't allow me to go to Philippine courts, is that denying you due process?
Absolutely, Your Honor. Without casting any aspersion on the character or competence of the officials involved.
Yeah, I'm asking
In
a
the-
general question. I think
the question
SOJ
that
naman
you
is
posed, yes.
listening and they will answer. So, going back to surrender. So, if my foreign court ngayon, I look, I have it somewhere here, pasensya na kayo magulo. Senator Trillanes was saying in May 2024 na 3 batches of warrants to. First daw is si PRD, after that daw, Senator Bato, Senator Bongo, etc. And then sa third batch, military and police officials. So, I agree with Senator Bongo na wala na tayong magagawa in the sense na nandyan na si PRD. But I disagree na hindi importante itong hearing kasi kung may second, third, fourth batch pa yung warrants, it's important. And take note tama po ba ako, during the time that the Marawi uprising or the Marawi siege, Secretary Anyo, we were still under ICC noon, no? Kasi that was tama po, di ba? When we were in Russia. So you know, if a terrorist who survived goes to the ICC and shows them pictures of 19 women or children that were died and comes up with a witness and tells them, alam nyo, from President Duterte to Sec Anyo to the Chief of Staff to ganito, they planned this, they killed this ganito, it may be not true, it may be totally false. So if the ICC issues a warrant here, I want to make sure that every officer of the AFP has his day in court before they're sent to Hague. So valid itong hearing na to. As I said, may emotions lang, and let's excuse all of ourselves kung minsan may konting emotion, but we just want to clarify this. So yun yung context ng tanong ko, Tony Alexis, no? So kung halimbawa may warrant for whatever for Juan de la Cruz, kinuha siya based on that warrant, pero hindi siya binigyan ng enough time or enough opportunity before a Philippine judge, aren't we denying him due process? Because pagdating dun sa foreign court, as SOJ said correctly, and I agree with him, iba language, iba procedure, and everything. So isn't a Filipino citizen, doesn't he have the right under the Constitution to be judged first by Philippine law before he's brought out to a foreign country or to an international tribunal to face what their interpretation of the law is?
If I may answer,
Yes.
Your Honor, if you look at the consistent policy of the Constitution, when there is a deprivation of liberty, the consistent policy of the Constitution is to involve the judiciary. The exclusion, complete exclusion of the judiciary in the deprivation of liberty of any citizen is anathema to the principles of the Constitution. And you can see that in the different provisions of the Constitution. You can see that in the requirements for the warrant of arrest, due process, liberty of abode, criminal proceeding, criminal due process, even in the period when the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus is suspended, the Constitution mandates the government to file charges against the person. So,
Last two
always.
questions. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Constitution.
Yeah. Last
Thank
two
you.
questions or three, then opportunity for SOJ. No? So, yung pong, nagugulat ako kasi even those who claim to be human rights activists, pinopost nila to sa Facebook. Again, hindi ko nila lahat. I admire many human rights activists, but even some na very well known, no? If I'm not mistaken, even former Senator De Lima, more or less may ganitong tema. Bakit? Si Duterte ba may alam na due process nung pinatay silang mga to? Diba? Bakit siya ngayon humingi ng due process? So, my next question is due process only for the innocent? Only for the saints? Or even, first of all, President Duterte is presumed innocent. But assuming 5 times na convicted drug lord, rapist, torturer, etc., nahuli ng PNP, under our Constitution, dapat ba may due process pa rin siya?
Yes, Your Honor, if you look at the text of the Constitution, there are no names that are excluded from its application.
So even if a person, whether he's a private citizen or government, is accused of not giving due process, that's the beauty of the Constitution, di ba? That everyone should be given due process.
Opo.
Oo. So I just want to make that clear kasi nga, sabi ni Secretary de Lima, walang due process sa kanya. But if you go before that, nung iniimbestigahan pa lang niya si President Duterte when she was CHR and she was DOJ, wala naman siyang final na kaso. So sabi naman ni President Duterte, nung mayor pa lang siya, wala akong due process. Sinasabi na niya na guilty ako. So nung siya naman yung naging presidente, eto naman nakulong, ang sinasabi naman niyang walang due process si Duterte. So ang point ko lang, if we as Filipinos do not demand due process for everyone, DOJ and the government is not saying that they denied, but I'm just saying, no, mali yung argument sa Facebook na pag ikaw hindi mo binigyan ng due process yung kalaban, ikaw hindi ka na pwedeng kumuha ng due process. Iba po yun. Meron doctrine sa batas that those to come to court should come with clean hands. That's a different application. Anyone can come to court asking for due process, di ba? I wanted to clear that up lang, and I ask you that, Dr. Alexis, for 2 reasons. One, attorney, because you're a constitutional law professor. Number 2, if I ask SOJ, baka ispin nung iba and they tell na meron o wala si Duterte. I'm not talking about Duterte, I'm talking about every single Filipino deserves due process. Okay. My next question is, will the Interpol, or I don't want you to make a judgment sa Interpol, no? If any foreign entity, no, comes to us and asks for an arrest, is it non-cooperation with them if we say may provisional arrest, we have him in custody, but a Philippine judge has to decide whether or not we can turn him over to you.
If I may, Your Honor, international conventions actually respect compliance with domestic laws. Even the Rome Statute, in the cooperation, the requirement is application of the laws of the country, of the custodial state. So it's up to the custodial state how to comply. There is no issue that we should comply with all these international obligations. That's not the dispute. The dispute is how to comply. And the manner of compliance is governed primarily, of course, by the Constitution, the highest law of the land.
And that's precisely why the diffusion notice stated provisional arrest or extradition, because so this is the parallelism of what I want to make. If the ICC knows na pwedeng provisional arrest or pwedeng extradition, they give it sa Interpol, hindi naman magagalit ang Interpol kung nagbigay silang red notice at ang sagot mo sa Interpol, we have him under custody but we cannot release him to you unless...
Sweet shrimp! Hindi! Creamy tonkotsu pork broth! Both! Lucky Me Shrimp Tonkotsu!
a Philippine court so orders or unless we give him enough time to seek legal remedy. Because of course, if the person doesn't seek legal remedy, para na rin niyang sinurrender. Because the whole argument is that we're just helping Interpol. So I just wanted to clear that up. And again, ang hirap ng Facebook o media interview kasi hindi nakakasagot yung kabilang side. Eto, we can, I'll stop there, Madam Chair. So the point I want to make, and this is my personal stand, and I hope in a less emotional and more academic setting also, Mr. Secretaries, we can determine that because part of life, liberty, and ano ba yung ginamit natin? Iba kasi yung sa US di ba? Sila may pursuit of happiness. Tayo, life, liberty, and property is the peace of mind. Di ba? The peace of mind na dito at least sa bansa ko, siyempre hindi mo kontrolado kriminal. Diyan pumapasok, Sir Marbil, yung peace and order, assurance, etc. But at least alam ko, hindi ako pwedeng biglang arestuhin dito tapos i-try wherever. Di ba? Pero kung in doubt yon, di ba? So for example, feel free to judge Senator Bato, but I made the same statement as the Senate President that if he's in the Senate, even if beyond 6 years yung kakasuhan sa kanya, kung hindi pa nagde-decide ang Supreme Court what constitutes surrender, etc., and he seeks legal remedy, we should give, under reasonable circumstances, sanctuary to him. We did that sa Batasan 5. I mean, I've never be pro, hindi ko na alam kung anong word ang gagamitin kasi baka sabihin red tagging, di ba? But the progressive left or whatever, di ba? During the time of President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, we were together, Secretary, di ba, na we weren't looking at their ideology, we weren't looking at guilty ba sila o hindi. We were looking at the institution and the, what you call this, the balancing ba na pag medyo sigurado na legal yung pag-arrest, etc., tayo mismo kumakausap sa kanila na lumabas na kayo dito. I think that's what happened with Senator De Lima. No? I'll stop there. Napakaraming issues.
Was this warrant presented to PRRD at the time he was arrested? Kasi may katanungan, di ba? At may sinasabi si Attorney Medialdea na hindi daw pinakita sa Pangulo. Pwede bang may sumagot? Si General Torre, mukhang kabisado niya. Siya yung nasa video
Again, ma'am?
Hindi. Yung warrant nung natanggap ninyo yung warrant, naipakita ba yung ICC warrant sa Pangulo, kay Pangulo Duterte? Pinakita ba ninyo sa kanya? Nung inaresto siya, di ba, obligado kayo magpakita ng warrant.
Yes, ma'am.
Anong pinakita nyo?
Right at the tube, ma'am, the Yusik Nikiti, together with PG Fadulyon, together with me, gave them the electronic copy through retired General Munti Agudo, ma'am, because that's their condition. They don't recognize the diffusion order. They really want to have a copy of the warrant. That's why a soft copy was given to them on the tube. And a hard copy was printed and later on received by Attorney Delgra in the 250th wing, sir. 250th wing, ma'am.
May pagkakataon ba si former president na basahin to? Kasi ang pagkaintindi, hindi. Tingnan natin muna yung video kasi mas maliwanag doon.
Pag umaresto ka ng tao, pag inaresto ka ng pulis, pwedeng hindi dala ng pulis ang warrant mo. Pwede. Sasabihin lang ng pulis kayo, oy, arestado ka, may warrant ka. Nasaan ang warrant? Doon sa estasyon, halika na. That's perfectly legal. Pag umaresto ka ng tao, pag inaresto ka ng pulis, pwedeng hindi dala ng pulis.
So ang sabi po ninyo, hindi naman kailangan yung warrant kaya hindi ninyo pinakita. Tama po ba yun?
Ma'am, that is a very, very different interview in the aftermath. But I'm talking of
Jump into a world of fun with every Happy Meal. Collect all 10.
New Garnier Vitamin C Serum Cleanser gently cleanses for brighter skin in one wash.
Anong pinag-uusapan sa interview?
and I'm talking about we have already veered on the general rules on the warrantless on the service of the warrants, because during the time and up to this time there are still a lot of people saying that I'm wrong in there, that you cannot arrest a person with a warrant that you know as a person has a warrant, yet you cannot serve it without the physical warrant. So all the lawyers know here
Diba ang
that
sabi,
I'm right there.
kailangan ng warrant as soon as practicable. At hinihingi talaga ni former president. Di ba hinihingi niya? Hinihingi ng abogado niya, asan yung warrant? Tama, di ba hinihingi
Yes, ma'am.
nila? Anong pinakita nyo?
We gave them the electronic copy of the warrant, and it was given to them by Yusek Nikiti together with PG Fatulion. It was received by
Yung
General
warrant, anong
Monteagudo.
klase yung itsura ng warrant?